Well, hello, everybody, and a blessed and joyous Easter to all of you. I'm going to keep it short today, which is somewhat ironic because the piece of music appropriate for the season that I'm going to talk about is very, very long, even in abbreviated form. I'm speaking, of course, about the St. Matthew Passion of Johann Sebastian Bach. Now, this grand oratorio tells the story of the Passion of the Christ through a retelling of chapters 26 and 27 of the Gospel of Matthew. And it's a beautifully lush, complex piece. The very arrangements and the tonality, including some dissonance, was centuries ahead of its time. But Bach was the master of harmony. He really did more to advance modern European classical ideas of harmony than just about anyone else, which is why he's been such an inspiration to so many. Bach was, of course, a sacred composer in the Lutheran Church, and it was really only in the 20th century, pardon me, in the 19th century rather, and his music became revisited among more general audiences. And this piece in particular was the composer Mendelssohn who revived it in the early part of the 19th century. And he did so to much acclaim. People were glad that Bach was back, if you'll pardon that. And since then, the piece has only grown in stature and popularity. Perhaps one of the men that was most responsible for repopularizing the piece centuries after Bach's death was one of my very favorite conductors of all time, Wilhelm Mengelberg, who led the Concertgebouw Orchestra, turned it from an unknown entity into one of the greatest orchestras in the history of the world. Mengelberg really pushed a tradition to perform this piece every Easter season, typically on Palm Sunday. And this was a piece, even after Mengelberg's death and the horrible way he was treated by the Dutch authorities in the late 40s and early 50s, the tradition that he started remains. And it's popular not only among lovers of orchestral music in Amsterdam, but also among the population there more widely. And so it's only fitting that I'm going to give you, link in the description, a portion of Mengelberg's St. Matthew Passion. I'll copy a link, obviously, to the full piece and also to a few excerpts that I think you ought to listen to. And I'm also going to send you the version by the other great conductor of the first half of the 20th century, Wilhelm Furtwängler. Now, the two men take a decidedly different approach to the piece. Mengelberg's is more ethereal, and Furtwängler's is more pensive and contemplative and weighty. So one reaches for the stars, one reaches for the soul, both incredibly moving, two of the best versions of this piece ever recorded. And I think that once you listen to some of them, you'll agree. The piece, as I said, is very long, and even the entire recordings that were presented by Furtwängler and Mengelberg were cut down. So you can imagine if you're going to do an oratorio on two chapters of the Gospel of St. Matthew, you're going to be there for a long time. So on record, I do think it absolutely makes sense to do the cuts where the two maestros decided to do it while still the listener is able to invite the beauty and the profundity of the piece in terms of both its deeper social and spiritual meanings and in terms, of course, of its musicality. So links again below, like, subscribe, and all of that. Happy Easter, one and all, and we will see you next time. Take care.